Okay, thank you very much. First, I want to say I'm very happy to be here, and I want to thank you all for coming here. I know for some of you it's a very long trip. You've taken long plane rides. Now, I took a 20-mile drive down the peninsula to get here, but that's not counting the 3 trips I took to Brussels back and forth. Okay. Now, what I'd like to tell you about today is a couple things. I'd like to tell you about where MySQL fits within Oracle's overall structure, what our overall plans are for MySQL, and some things that, some product announcements. So I assume that many of you probably aren't that familiar with Oracle. I'm sure you know what our products are, and you've seen them, maybe many of you have used them. But if you haven't had a chance to interact with Oracle before, I thought it would be a good idea for you to kind of understand our overall company strategy. So, if you look at what our customers spend their dollars on, it's not mostly spent on buying computers and buying software. It's spent on integrating software and integrating computers and managing all that stuff. So we decided a few years ago that we needed to have a strategy of building complete technology stacks that are open and integrated, that we would build those things together, that we would test those things together, our customers could manage them together, and we would service them together. And all of that stuff would be based on open standards. And the reason why it made sense for us to do that is that it would give our customers lower total cost, lower risk, and in the end, they'd get more reliable applications. Now, we're actually very serious about this notion of basing our technology on open standards. Most of our components talk to each other through standards that are defined in standards bodies. We do this, really, for 2 reasons. One is customers demand it. Customers have other components from other vendors they need to integrate with our stacks. The second is purely selfish. We want customers to standardize on our technology. Customers won't do that if they feel like they're getting locked into what we're providing them. So by basing our technology on open standards, by making it possible for customers to choose components in that stack other than ours, they're much more likely to pick the full suite from us. Now, you may be surprised that open source is an important part of that offering, even before the acquisition of Sun. We use Apache, many kinds of Apache components within our middleware. We use Java. We deliver developer plugins for Eclipse. Linux is a strategic platform for us. We're in the Linux business. Our virtualization solutions are based on Xen. Open source is an integral part of that complete open integrated stack, even before we acquired Sun. And we did that for a couple of reasons. One is there's a lot of great stuff out there that's open source. By using open source, by supporting open source, by promoting it, delivering it to our customers, we speed up time to innovation. We get to take advantage of all the great work that's happening out there in the community. We also contribute work back. And of course, we want developers to use our products, and developers like open source. Now, I mentioned Linux. Linux is a business for us. We're in the Linux business. We have an offering called Unbreakable Linux Support. What we support are binaries called Oracle Enterprise Linux. So we focus really on the server side. And our Linux work is focused on making Linux a better operating system for enterprise-class server components. So our contributions include file systems, Oracle Clustered File System, ButterFS. We deliver clustering technology. We have data integrity technology, part of the Linux kernel, right, that makes sure that when you do a block write from the database, it actually gets to disk without being corrupted. Those are things that matter when you're building databases and other kinds of server software. It matters to MySQL running on Linux too. Oracle VM is Oracle's family of virtualization products. Oracle VM Server is a Xen-based bare metal hypervisor and management infrastructure for x86. The hypervisor is Xen. We consume Xen, we enhance Xen, we contribute those enhancements back. Oracle VM Server for x86 is free. You can download it and use it for free. If you want to get support, you pay us. Subscription model, very similar to MySQL. Now, of course, with Sun, we've picked up another very interesting piece called VirtualBox. So VirtualBox is a hosted virtualization environment that runs on Windows or Mac OS and Linux. Now, we've been in the Linux business about 3 years. We have more than 4,500 customers. It's been a very successful endeavor for us, and we're, we keep growing. We're very excited, especially now that we can combine this with MySQL. So you're probably wondering, where does MySQL fit in that entire scheme? Well, there's a couple other attributes of that strategy which are important to that question. One is, we never settle for being second best at any level of the stack. We always want the best technology at each level. If we don't have it, then of course customers aren't going to choose that stack from us. The second is that complete means we meet most customer requirements at every level. Now, MySQL, it's small, it's lightweight, it's very easy to install, it's very easy to manage, it's very easy to get started with. It has a very good real-time database capability through MySQL cluster. All of those things are great attributes. All of those things are properties that make it different than the Oracle database. That means that MySQL is the right choice for many kinds of applications. That means by adding MySQL to that database tier of that complete open integrated stack, we address more applications. We satisfy more customer requirements. We make the Oracle solution more complete. That's why MySQL matters to Oracle and matters to Oracle customers. And that's why it makes sense. Well, thank you. And that's why it makes sense for Oracle to invest in MySQL. Now, if you take a look, at that complete open integrated stack, and you think about the open source components that are part of it, Oracle has the most complete LAMP stack. We have Linux, we have Xen-based virtualization, Apache, Glassfish, MySQL, and certainly support for most popular programming languages, almost all of which have open source implementations. We invest in MySQL. What does investing in MySQL mean? It means making MySQL better. It's already the #1 open source database for web applications. We need to keep it that way. We're going to continue to develop and promote and support MySQL. We're going to improve engineering, leverage Oracle's existing 24/7 award-winning world-class support organization. And we're going to continue to enhance the Community Edition. If we starve the Community Edition, then MySQL will stop being ubiquitous. We want MySQL to be used by everyone. Now, that investment is steered by a few goals. First, of course, we want to keep MySQL strong where it already is strong. Strong for web applications, good for embedded applications, good for telecom applications who need that real-time support through cluster. We need to keep it part of the LAMP stack. What would LAMP stack be without MySQL? But we also want to make sure that MySQL is a great database on Windows. One of the things I was very surprised to find out about when I first got engaged with Sun here in the acquisition process is that by far the #1 download platform for MySQL is Windows. But it's not the #1 platform for deployments. We're going to invest to make sure that MySQL is a great database on Windows. Another very interesting thing that became clear during the acquisition process is that Oracle customers who use the Oracle database for many applications also use MySQL. They use it because it's good at different things. Even customers who have enterprise licenses. So an enterprise license means that customer can use unlimited amounts of Oracle database, yet in many places they still use MySQL. So what we're going to do is we're also going to invest in engineering projects to make MySQL fit within the Oracle infrastructure. So that means that one way that you can manage MySQL will be through Enterprise Manager. You won't have to manage it that way, but you can. If you're an existing Oracle customer, that will be your preferred way. If you want to manage the backup of MySQL, you'll do it using something called Oracle Secure Backup, which is what you use to manage your Oracle database backup. If you generate audit records in your application and you want to securely store those, you'll use Oracle Audit Vault. So by integrating MySQL into that kind of database surround that we use for Oracle database, will make MySQL much more appealing for existing Oracle customers. Now, when I talk about making MySQL better and the things we're going to do with MySQL, you might have the impression that somehow we believe MySQL isn't good already. That's not the case. We think MySQL is a very good product, and it's clear, it's obvious. MySQL is everywhere. It's ubiquitous. I mean, you don't become ubiquitous with a bad product or a bad technology. It's a good technology, it's a good product, but we're going to continue to invest in it to make it better. You also don't get to be used by tremendous web properties like Google and eBay and Facebook unless you have a good technology. And to all those customers, I'd like to say thank you. And one of the interesting things about MySQL that makes it different than many other databases is the pluggable storage engine architecture. So, I mean, you're all totally aware of this. There are multiple storage engines that run underneath MySQL, and that's something that we're going to maintain. We're going to keep that pluggable storage engine API. We're going to evolve it. We're forming something called a storage engine advisory board, much like a customer advisory board, where storage engine vendors can get together with us, and we can talk about what their requirements are, what their experiences are, and what our future plans are for that pluggable architecture. That's probably what you really want to hear about is the products themselves. So MySQL 5.5 is beta. You can download it right now from dev.mysql.com. One of the most significant changes in MySQL 5.5 is going to be that InnoDB is going to become the default storage engine. So with InnoDB, with a built-in InnoDB, MySQL will have ACID transactions, foreign keys, crash recovery. Other work in 5.5 includes improved availability with semi-synchronous replication and a replication heartbeat, improved usability with signal-resignal language features, more partitioning options, and a performance schema. Now, in the InnoDB built-in will also populate that performance schema. MySQL 5.5 is faster, much faster. Now, that comes from a collection of changes, some of which are in the built-in InnoDB, some of which are in the SQL processing layer above InnoDB. So within InnoDB, a long list of projects, multiple buffer pool segments, multiple rollback segments, extended change buffering, better locking within MySQL proper, better metadata locking within transactions, split lock open mutex, and some other lock improvements. I think one of the most interesting things, one of the most compelling things also is a better than 10 times improvement in recovery times. I mean, yesterday we were talking through some customer examples as I was getting ready for the presentation, and a lot of them are experiencing 14 times, 15 times, improvement in recovery. That's very compelling. Now, I say it's faster, okay? And of course, everyone says it's faster every version, but we have real data. So running sysbench, a read-only sysbench benchmark at scale, so at a large number of database connections, it's more than 200% faster. 200%. Now, if you want to actually write to the database, you have to settle for 364% faster. So at scale, large number of database connections, MySQL 5.5 is 364% faster than 5.1. Those are incredible performance gains. You don't get them every day. Now, beyond the server, we have improvements in MySQL Workbench. So presumably, you want to do more than benchmark the database. You want to build an application. So MySQL Workbench is a great tool for that. So we have some basic improvements in the SQL development area, so better SQL editor, better object management, connection management, multi-pane results view. Database administration, so you can check status, you can look at configuration information, start and stop the database, manage users and security, import, export, dump files. And I think actually the most exciting thing is data modeling. So I mean, I know that when I was a child building database applications, so I typed in a lot of create tables inside Emacs. I mean, frankly, if I had had a data modeling tool building those complex schemas, I would have been much happier. We're also announcing MySQL Cluster 7.1. So has 3 basic areas of improvement. One is improved administration. I mean, clustering is difficult to get right in terms of configuration, right? So I think MySQL Cluster Manager will help a lot there. Real-time status information will help a lot there. We're building Java connectors for MySQL Cluster. So and you get not just like SQL access, but also OpenJPA access for native access. Carrier-grade performance and availability. extreme availability, 99.999% availability, sub-second failover, and self-healing recovery. This is a very compelling product for customers that need to build real-time applications like telecoms. That's where it came from. I think one of the things that I notice in the telecommunications industry is carriers competing for business based on being able to offer new services. And I think that's one of the things that is very compelling about MySQL Cluster, because it lets those customers be able to define and establish those new services before the competitors do. Now, all of those things that I mentioned, all of those things I described, are new features and better performance and enhancements in the community editions of those products. Of course, we also have a commercial offering, MySQL Enterprise. We're also making that better. So I hope everyone here understands what MySQL Enterprise is. It's our paid support version of the MySQL products. And it comes with monitoring products and, of course, support. One important change for MySQL Enterprise is that backup is now included. Online backup is now included if you use NoDB storage engine as a storage layer for your databases. It's formerly called NoDB Hot Backup. Formerly, a separately paid-for feature. But if you're a paid MySQL customer, you get to use NoDB Hot Backup for free. It's online. You don't have to bring down your application. You can back up your databases, logical and physical, full and incremental. You can do point-in-time recovery. It also backs up MyISAM, but MyISAM backup is not online. Now, if you're using the paid version, of course, you get to use MySQL Enterprise Monitor. It gives you a single consolidated view into your MySQL environment. Lets you create alerts and get notification of events that are relevant to you as administrator. MySQL Enterprise Monitor 2.2 has significantly improved performance monitoring and filtering for specific query problems and faster problem resolution. But instead of me just going through those bullets and telling you about it, we have something better. We have a demo for you. And so with that, I'd like to invite up Mark Matthews, an architect working on MySQL Enterprise Monitor.
Thank you, Edward. So I'm going to stand up so I can see real quick. How many of you out here are responsible for production deployment of MySQL? All right, that's a good fraction. And probably the rest of you pay somebody that is responsible for production deployment of MySQL, right? So pay attention. Chances are you either will receive a message like this on your pager or your phone, or you already have. And we know that these come at the worst times, right? You're at lunch. You're at sleep. Somehow your apps know that you're away. Or, I don't want to jinx anything, but you're at a conference. And you get this message, and this is what you have. Some box is running hot. You don't know why, but you know you need to fix it because otherwise your boss or your customers are going to be on the phone. So we think we have some things in Enterprise Monitor 2.2 that can help you out with this. So I'm going to go ahead and log in here. These are local credentials, but one new feature in 2.2 is that you can actually integrate with Podium? If you use Oracle Identity Management, Active Directory, or Open LDAP to manage your authentication, you're going to go ahead and be able to integrate with that. So this is going to be interesting. How about this? Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Okay, we'll do it old school, analog. So we got this event, right? And the message told me that it was on this particular machine. Thank you. And I'm a numbers guy. I like to look at graphs. And here's the CPU spike we were talking about. Now, 6 months ago, we delivered a feature, and we demoed it on stage, where you can drill into this. And I'll show you that in a second. But, we all know a CPU spike. What could it be? You can kind of use your DBA intuition. Something changed. Something bad changed. I like to look at my apps from a throughput perspective. How did the throughput change? And so this database activity graph shows us that at the time the CPU spiked, activity went way down, right? And that can usually be a few things. It's more concurrency, and so you're taking more locks and things are just waiting, or you're doing more I/O. So we have a new graph that uses the new metadata coming out of the new InnoDB. They provide a lot more statistics in 5.5 and 5.1. And so we can take a look at what the transactions running in InnoDB are actually doing over time. And here we notice that really, there's nothing blocking. There's nothing taking locks and waiting, so it's not contention. But the number of running transactions has started to go up. So I smell table scans. So we can select that area of time where things increased and go right to the queries are running at that point in time. And so we showed that to you last year, and that's great. You're further along than where you were when you had just that page come at you, right? But there's this whole pile of queries to sort through. And this is just a demo app. A real app, you might have hundreds or thousands of these things to look at. You can correlate that yourself, try and figure out what's going on. But in 2.2, we think we have something that's better. All right? So if you remember, we got that message, and that's an event that comes out of our advisory engine. So if we go back to the Events tab, we can look at some events that happened around that time. So right here is the CPU event that I actually received on my iPhone on the screen. If I open that up, one thing that we did in 2.2 is that events that you want to be notified about once, but then when they correct themselves, you want them to close. So we have this auto-close feature which you can enable. And we'll go ahead and close that event out. So the thing we can see is that there's some other things that happened around the same time as the CPU usage increased, right? I think this one is the culprit here. The product is telling me that it noticed an index has been dropped from a table, right? So that's not a great thing. Here we have the advisor, and any of the advisors that refer to something that happened query-wise, something that happened in the database, now have links back into the query analyzer where it changes the timing and filters the view. So we can go right there, and now we have that needle in a haystack. Here is the actual drop. If I open that up, you've seen this before. This is the view we showed last year that shows all the aggregate performance. Here's the actual query itself, and it looks like as soon as I get out of here, I'm going to have to give Joe a call and tell him to put that index back so our application's not crashing. So we'll have that problem fixed pretty soon. Now, how many of you run replication in any shape or form, right? So we've done some improvements to the replication tab. This is actually now a pretty good dashboard to have up and running. Leave it up on a monitor in your NOC. Leave it, if your employer's generous and gives you 4 monitors, have it take up a whole screen. Some of the things we changed is, especially in 5.1, SQL errors and I/O errors get split out. They're not all lumped together. So we have those in the same UI. So it's easier to see when you're having network connectivity, flapping slaves because of network versus people doing things like writing to a slave where they shouldn't. Now, I have a slave here, AppRead 3, which is actually having a problem connecting to the master. And as I'm running a little short on time, I think I'll have the support team take a look at that. So there's another new feature in 2.2 where if you go to the Manage Servers tab, you can actually find the server in question. And with this little lifeboat ring here, you can take everything that the monitor knows about a server or even a whole group of servers. So it's the operating system information. It's the queries that were running at the time. It's the configuration and their changes over time. And it's all the performance information, so the graphs and everything that you've seen in the product. And it bundles it all up to something you can attach to a support issue. And the idea there is that really stops the initial back and forth when support tries to figure out what are you running, what are you seeing, what was changed. So you can get right to solving the problem. So, that solved one problem. And then just to recap, we were back in the query analyzer, actually over here, and we saw this query here. The one thing I didn't talk about yet is where we're getting this query information. So we have a new way of gathering this with connector plugins. And we saw this here, and you were going to ask me something about it.
Yeah, I think in the interest of time, maybe we'll cut to the chase here. I think there are two very interesting things that I find especially compelling about this particular screen that he's showing you. One is you can actually see traceback information. So if you've done performance analysis and you've identified a particular problem statement in your application, you can not only see what the SQL text is, but you can actually see where in the application, the call stack that got you there. Right, and that is an amazing productivity feature, and I think it's a unique feature of this product. Now, one thing that I do want to ask you is, I've got an existing MySQL deployment, right, and I want to use this thing. I mean, how disruptive is it going to be to me to instrument my servers with this?
Okay, it's actually really simple, because every application that is written against MySQL uses a connector to connect to it, and we have plugins for JDBC, ADO.NET, libmysql, PHP. And it's a simple library that you drop down. You reconfigure connection string to tell the app where to find the enterprise monitor, and the queries go right to it. And they're all very low impact. I happen to implement the one for Java. It's like 1% to 2%, and most of them are all about the same kind of performance.
That's great. So in other words, if I've got an existing deployment, MySQL deployment, I can take advantage of Monitor and take advantage of the features you've demonstrated here, including that call stack trace, without disrupting the server as well.
Correct.
All right, that's great. Thank you very much, Mark.
Thanks, Edward.
So maybe we can get back to the slides, please. There was actually, I didn't tell you about my second favorite feature on that screen, which is it shows you who actually made the change. Now, when I was a programmer at Oracle, they actually used to let me write programs. On the very first product I worked on, in our source code control system, there was a feature where you could point to an individual line of code, and it would tell you the last person who changed it. And we used to call it the finger of blame, Okay, so there are two things that I hope you walk away with here. There's two impressions I hope I've made. First of all, MySQL is important to Oracle and our customers. It's part of that complete open integrated strategy, which actually drives our entire company. That's the way we think about everything we build, complete, open, integrated, and MySQL is an essential part of that because it lets us be more complete at the database tier. The second is that it's worth it to Oracle to invest in MySQL, and we're making MySQL better, not at some abstract point in the future. We're making it better today. You've just seen some major functional enhancements, some major performance enhancements in the server, in Workbench, and Monitor that you can download today. Please go to dev.mysql.com and check it out. The beta versions and production versions of what we've talked about are there today. Now, something else I'd like to urge you to do is please visit oracle.com and look into Oracle Open World and Java 1 Develop. So if you've never experienced it, Oracle Open World is a very large event where we bring together thousands and thousands of Oracle customers and Oracle technologists and Oracle partners, and we talk about their experiences using our products, including MySQL. We'll have several sessions about MySQL. Right, and you also get access to Oracle technology leaders, architects, and executives who will tell you about what's coming up in future versions of the products. So please, it's in September this year in San Francisco. If you're not from the Bay Area, it's a beautiful time of year in the city. So thank you very much. And there are several resources you can use. Downloads, dev.mysql.com, documentation on mysql.com, blogs, and of course, please visit oracle.com. Thank you very much.